separate over there down. ये लाइट क्यों नहीं हो रही?
हाँ बोलो।
लाइट क्यों नहीं हो रही है? ये लाइट जला होगी?
चलो देखता हूँ, बहुत कम है।
Doing now dating, you know, come on, you know, going temple. You like to sit down here, sit down. Come. Okay, I'll.
Hare Krishna Guruji.
Thanks.
Fresh flowers.
We have some covered here.
Just like some fresh flowers. Like the violence.
तौलिया लेके आइए पिंक कलर का 50 80 yes. Looking tall. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just leave it. There you go. Okay. Next one.
Okay, sir. Anything what you don't think it?
Yes, sir. Yes, Guru Maharaj.
ले लीजिए ग्लास में पानी पीना है। एक Cut some fruits. Cut some small fruits. Kind of some stuffing. Still half a little. It's funny. It's funny. You're gonna pay any. Is here? Code? This code you want? He's not in the temple.
He is at home.
He's at home. Yes. You want to see Gujarati? Gujarati. Yes. Let's go into it.
It's a little bit too much. So many musicians.
संसारधावा नयलिलो ननयगा प्राप्तस्य पुनर्नमस्य पुनर्नमस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरेणु महाप्रभु कीर्तननित्य गीतं वदित्रवाद्यं मनसुरसेवं सुवंशितं पाशुपराभाजो वन्दे गुरुं श्रीचरणरेणु श्रीविग्रहारं फलनित्यनं शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमतिमूलं युक्तसभक्तां सनिरञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं सतोरविभासि भगवत्प्रसादो साधनतीर्थं हरिभक्तसंग्रहं पृथ्वीव तृप्तिं भजतो सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं श्रीराधिकामाधवायुरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नां प्रतीक्षणा साधनरूपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं निकुञ्जयोनो रतिकेलिसिद्धे यायलिभियुक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रातिदासारथिवरमस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं दाक्षाधरी प्रेम सरस्तशास्त्रम् उक्तस्तथायथैवसाध्वी किन्तु प्रभोर्या प्रियैव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि न्यायं सुमस्तस्य यस्य श्रीसङ्गं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पश्चादेशतारिणे
Paper towel. Sorry.
Ito Narasimha Karato Narasimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Narasimha Mahe Narasimha Hridaye Narasimha Narasimha Majin Saranam Prapade Sabakara Kamala Bade Nakam Adbhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubhinga Keshavadvipa Hara Hari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Nindai Tulsi Devi Namo Namah Tulsi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namah Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eya Vilasi Ye Tumhara Sarana Lord Hare Vancha Purnam Kripa Kari Kari Vrindavadamasi Muraya Vilas Vilas Kundadiyovas Nayane
It's much colder here than in Toronto. It's colder here than in Toronto. It's definitely cold outside.
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namah Yani Kani Champapani Brahmachari Kani Champapani Kani Pranashanti Vadashina Padipani Yani Kani Champapani Brahmachari Kani Champapani Kani Pranashanti Vadashina Padipani Yani Kani Champapani Brahmachari Kani Champapani
March?
I go in there. I could not recognize you in the dark.
He couldn't recognize you in the dark.
Oh. Well, now I've come into the light. Now I'm sure the effulgence of your.
I got rid of a heavy cup of cold last night.
You had heavy cough and cold last night.
Cold.
Yes.
All night I was coughing.
I can get a heater.
Do that?
The 10th canto verse.
The 10th.
Yes.
You only, he won't read the regular verse. He'll just take different verses from the 10th.
Okay.
Any particular chapter? The several volumes. Should I bring the 10th canto part one? Yes.
Actually, if we have a heater for this room also outside,
I have one.
Okay, yeah.
It's a good
I will
heater.
just move it around. Okay, that's wherever he is.
So, does he want the 10th canto, but it's like, I have
No,
digital.
we have the 10th canto we have here. So that the book is taken care of.
Oh.
Yes, yeah, I'm getting. When is Ekadashi? It's August 8th or?
Yep.
I'm getting the word.
Text 4, do you should we read from here? 10th canto, chapter 1, text 4. So right now, you just read it.
So we should read the translations of that chapter, Gumaj, and then text 4 we read the translation and purport.
Yeah.
And we have the book also if you want to use the book. Is it easier?
I find this easier to read.
You
My
can-
eyes are getting.
You can have a seat here.
So it's from the beginning then,
Yes.
just the translations.
What do you gotta do? Yeah.
Okay, next one. King Parikshit said, "My dear Lord, you have elaborately described the dynasties of both the moon god and the sun god with the exalted and wonderful character of their kings. Pious and strictly, O best of Munis, you have also described the descendants of Yadu who were very pious and strictly adherent to religious principles. Now, if you will, kindly describe the wonderful, glorious activities of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, who appeared in the Yadu dynasty with Baladev, his plenary expansion. The Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the cause of cosmic manifestation, appeared in the dynasty of Yadu. Please tell me elaborately about those glorious activities and character from the beginning to the end of his life."
Prabhu, where's the heater? I can just go and get the heater. If it's at your.
It's my-
It's not the
Why doesn't Prabhu continue? I'll go get the heater.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Okay. He can continue reading and then we both can go and get the heater.
Oh, I can do that. It's not heavy.
Oh, I'll help you. Prabhu, you can just continue, or here's the book. You want text with me?
I'm on text 14. I'm in text 14.
Here.
Today's verse. Coincidentally.
Yes. Perfect. This is the translation.
Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the force, temporary glorification of these cosmic manifestations. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord, except a butcher or one who is still in his own self? Purple.
Yeah, no, they know it.
Yes, Guru.
They know it, they know it. I really like cold and stuff last night.
Yes, you're bringing purple. In India, it is the practice among the general populace to hear about Krishna, either from Bhagavad Gita or from Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to gain relief from the disease of repeated birth and death. Although India is now fallen, when there is a message that someone will speak about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, thousands of people still gather to hear. This verse indicates, however, that such recitation of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam must be done by persons completely free from material desires. Nivritta Karsai. Everyone within this material world, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, is full of material desires for sense enjoyment, and everyone is busy in sense gratification. But when thus engaged, one cannot fully understand the value of Krishna Katha, either in the form of Bhagavad Gita or in Srimad Bhagavatam. If we hear the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from liberated persons, this hearing will certainly free us from the bondage of material activities. But hearing Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by a professional reciter cannot actually help us achieve liberation. Krishna Katha is very simple. In Bhagavad Gita it is said that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As he himself explains, Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. O Arjun, there is no truth superior to me. Bhagavad Gita 7:7. Simply by understanding this fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become a liberated person. But especially in this age, because people are interested in hearing Bhagavad Gita from unscrupulous persons who depart from the simple presentation of Bhagavad Gita and distort it for their personal satisfaction, they fail to derive the real benefit. There are big scholars, politicians, philosophers, and scientists who speak on Bhagavad Gita in their own polluted way, and people in general hear from them. Being uninterested in hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from a devotee. A devotee is one who has no other motive for reciting Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam than to serve the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore advised us to hear the glories of the Lord from a realized person, Bhagavad Parodya, Bhagavad Sthana. Unless one is personally a realized soul in the science of Krishna consciousness, a neophyte shall not approach him to hear about the Lord, for this is strictly forbidden by Srila Sanatana Goswami. One should avoid hearing from a person not situated in Vaishnava behavior. A Vaishnava is Nivritta Krishna, that is, he has no material purpose, for his only purpose is to preach Krishna consciousness. So-called scholars, philosophers, and politicians exploit the importance of Bhagavad Gita by distorting its meaning for their own purposes. Therefore, this verse warns that Krishna Katha should be recited by a person who is Nivritta Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami epitomizes the proper reciter for Srimad Bhagavatam, and Parikshit Maharaj, who purposefully left his kingdom and family prior to meeting death, it epitomizes the person fit to hear it. A qualified reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam gives the right medicine, Bharosadi, for the conditioned souls. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to train qualified preachers to recite Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita throughout the entire world, so that people in general in all parts of the world may take advantage of this movement and thus be relieved of the threefold miseries of material existence. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita and the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam are so pleasing that almost anyone suffering from threefold miseries of material existence will desire to hear the glories of the Lord from these books and thus benefit on the path of liberation. Two classes of men, however, will never be interested in hearing the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are determined to commit suicide and those determined to kill cows and other animals for the satisfaction of their own tongues. Although such persons may make a show of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam at a Bhagavad Sapta, this is but another creation of the karmis, who cannot derive any benefit from such a performance. The word Pasugana is important in this connection. Pasugana means butcher. Persons fond of performing ritualistic ceremonies for elevation to their higher planetary systems must offer sacrifices, yagyas, by killing animals. Lord Buddha therefore rejected the authority of the Vedas because his mission was to stop animal sacrifices, which are recommended in Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Even though animal sacrifices are sanctioned in Vedic ceremonies, men who kill animals for such ceremonies are considered butchers. Butchers cannot be interested in Krishna consciousness, for they are already materially allured. Their only interest lies in developing comforts for the temporary body. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Bhagavad Gita 2:44. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Manusya Janma Paye Radha Krishna Na Bhaji Janya Sunya Vishakaini. Anyone who is not Krishna consciousness and who therefore does not engage in the service of the Lord is also Pasugana, for he is willingly drinking poison. Such a person cannot be interested in Krishna Katha because he still has a desire for material sense gratification. He is not Nivritta Krishna, as it is said. Taivargikas te Purusha Vimukha Hari Medasa. Those interested in Trivarga, that is, in Dharma, Artha, and Kama, are religious for the sake of achieving a material position with which to gain better facilities for sense gratification. Such persons are killing themselves by willingly keeping themselves in the cycle of birth and death. They cannot be interested in Krishna consciousness. For Krishna Katha, topics about Krishna consciousness, there must be a speaker and a hearer, both of whom can be interested in Krishna consciousness if they are no longer interested in material topics. One can actually see how this attitude automatically develops in persons who are Krishna conscious. Although the devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement are quite young men, they no longer read materialistic newspapers, magazines, and so on. For they are no longer interested in such topics, Nivritta has said. They completely give up the bodily understanding of life. For topics concerning Uttam Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master speaks and the disciple hears with attention. Unless both of them are free from material desires, they cannot be interested in topics of Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master and disciple do not need to understand anything more than Krishna, because simply by understanding Krishna and talking about Krishna, one becomes a perfectly learned person. Yasmin vidnate savam evam vidnatam bhavati. The Lord sits within everyone's heart, and by the grace of the Lord, the devotee receives instructions directly from the Lord Himself, who says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham vidisanasto matasmite jnanam apohanam cha vedasya sarva ahmeva vedeo vedanta vedavid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Krishna consciousness is so exalted that one who is perfectly situated in Krishna consciousness, under the direction of the spiritual master, is fully satisfied by reading Krishna Katha, as found in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar Vedic literatures. Since merely talking about Krishna is so pleasing, we can simply imagine how pleasing it is to render service to Krishna. When discourses on Krishna Katha take place between a liberated spiritual master and his disciple, others also sometimes take advantage of hearing these topics and also benefit. These topics are the medicine to stop the repetition of birth and death. The cycle of repeated birth and death, by which one takes on different bodies again and again, is called bhava or bhava roga. If anyone willingly or unwillingly hears Krishna Katha, his bhava roga, the disease of birth and death, will certainly stop. Therefore, Krishna Katha is called bhava sada, the remedy to stop the repetition of birth and death. Karmis or persons attached to material sense enjoyment generally cannot give up their material desires, but Krishna Katha is such a potent medicine that if one is induced to hear Krishna Katha, he will certainly be freed from this disease. A practical example is Dhruva Maharaj, who at the end of his tapasya was fully satisfied. When the Lord wanted to give Dhruva a benediction, Dhruva refused it. Swamin Kritato Asmi Varam Na Yache. My dear Lord, he said, I am fully satisfied. I do not ask for any benediction for material sense gratification. We actually see that even young boys and girls in the Krishna consciousness movement have given up their long practice of bad habits like illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Because Krishna consciousness is so potent that it gives them full satisfaction, they are no longer interested in material sense gratification. So that ends the first of Guru Maharaj. Translation. Taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, my grandfather Arjun and
That's what you were translation.
yes, that's the translation, Guru Maharaj. Taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, my grandfather Arjuna and others crossed the ocean of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in which such commanders as Bhishma Deva resembled great fish that could very easily have swallowed them. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, my grandfathers crossed this ocean, which was very difficult to cross, as easily as one steps over the hoof print of a calf. Because my mother surrendered unto Lord Krishna's lotus feet, the Lord Sudarshan Chakra in hand entered her womb and saved my body, the body of the last remaining descendant of the Kurus and the Pandavas, which was almost destroyed by the fiery weapon of Ashwatthama. Lord Shri Krishna appearing within and outside of all materially embodied living beings by his own potency in the forms of eternal time. That is as Paramatma and as Virat Rupa. Gave liberation to everyone, either as cruel death or as life. Kindly enlighten me by describing his transcendental characteristics. My dear Sukadev Goswami, you have already explained that Sankarshan, who belongs to the second quadruple, appeared as the son of Rohini named Balaram. If Balaram was not transferred from one body to another, how is it possible that he was first in the womb of Devaki and then in the womb of Rohini? Kindly explain this to me. Why did Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, leave the house of his father Vasudeva and transfer himself to the house of Nanda in Vrindavan? Where did the Lord, the master of the Yadu dynasty, live with his relatives in Vrindavan? Lord Krishna lived both in Vrindavan and in Mathura. What did he do there? Why did he kill Kamsa, his mother's brother? Such killing is not at all sanctioned in the Shastras.
Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has no material body, yet he appears as a human being. For how many years did he live with the descendants of Vishnu? How many wives did he marry? And for how many years did he live in Dwarka? Purport. In many places, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described as Satchit Ananda Vigraha, possessing a spiritual, blissful body. His bodily feature is Narakiti. That is exactly like that of a human being. Here, the same idea is repeated in the words Manusam Ashritya, Manusam Ashritya, which indicate that he accepts a body exactly like that of a man. Everywhere it is confirmed that Krishna is never nirakara or formless. He has his form exactly like that of a human being. There is no doubt about this. Translation. O great sage, who know everything about Krishna, please describe in detail all the activities which I have inquired, and also those of which I have not, for I have full faith and am very eager to hear of them. Because of my vow on the verge of death, I have given up even drinking water. Yet because I am drinking the nectar of topics about Krishna, which is flowing from the lotus mouth of your lordship, my hunger and thirst, which are extremely difficult to bear, cannot hinder me. Purport. To prepare to meet death in 7 days, Maharaj Parikshit gave up all food and drink. As a human being, he was certainly both hungry and thirsty, and therefore Shukadeva Goswami might have wanted to stop narrating the transcendental topics of Krishna. But despite his fast, Maharaj Parikshit was not at all fatigued. The hunger and thirst from my fast do not disturb me, he said. Once, when I felt very thirsty, I went to the ashram of Samika Muni to drink water, but the Muni did not supply it. I therefore wrapped a dead snake over his shoulder, and that is why I was cursed by the Brahmana boy. Now, however, I am quite fit. I'm not at all disturbed.
Yeah, yes, Maharaj.
I am not at all disturbed by my hunger and thirst. This indicates that although on the material platform there are disturbances from hunger and thirst, on the spiritual platform there is no such thing as fatigue. The entire world is suffering because of spiritual thirst. Every living being is Brahman or spirit soul and needs spiritual food to satisfy his hunger and thirst. Unfortunately, however, the world is completely unaware of the nectar of Krishna Katha. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore a boon to philosophers, religionists, and people in general. There is certainly a charming attraction in Krishna and Krishna Katha. Therefore, the absolute truth is called Krishna, the most attractive. The word Amrita is also an important reference to the moon, and the word Ambuj means lotus. The pleasing moonshine and the pleasing fragrance of the lotus combine to bring pleasure to everyone hearing Krishna Katha from the mouth of Shukadev Goswami. As it is said, Mitir na Krishne Udatha Sabatobha Mitto Bi Patyate Griha Vartanam Adanta Gopir Vishtam Tameshram Puna Punas Charita Charvanam. Because if their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life, make progress towards hellish condition and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed, their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, or by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5-30. At the present moment, all human society is engaged in the business of chewing the chewed. Punas charvita charavananam. People are prepared to undergo mrityus samsara bhartmani, taking birth in one form, dying, accepting another form, and dying again. To stop this repetition of birth and death, Krishna Katha or Krishna consciousness is absolutely necessary. But unless one hears Krishna Katha from a realized soul like Shukadev Goswami, one cannot relish the nectar of Krishna Katha, which puts an end to all material fatigue and enjoy the blissful life of transcendental existence. In relation to Krishna consciousness movement, we actually see that those who have tasted the nectar of Krishna Katha lose all material desires, whereas those who cannot understand Krishna or Krishna Katha regard the Krishna consciousness life as brainwashing and mind control. While the devotees enjoy spiritual bliss, the non-devotees are surprised that the devotees have forgotten material hankerings. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, after Shukadev Goswami, the most respectable devotee, the son of Vyasadeva, heard the pious questions of Maharaj Parikshit, he thanked the king with great respect. Then he began to discourse on the topics concerning Krishna, which are the remedy for all sufferings in this age of Kali. Purport. In this verse, the words Krishna Charitam Kali Klamasa Granam indicate that the activities of Lord Krishna are certainly the greatest panacea for all miseries, especially in this age of Kali. It is said that in Kali Yuga, people have only short lives and they have no culture of spiritual consciousness. If anyone is at all interested in spiritual culture, he is misled by many bogus swamis and yogis who do not refer to Krishna Katha. Therefore, most people are unfortunate and disturbed by many calamities. Srila Vyasadeva prepared Srimad Bhagavatam at the request of Narada Muni in order to give relief to the suffering people of the age of Kali. Kali Klamasa Nam. The Krishna consciousness movement is seriously engaged in enlightening people through the pleasing topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. All over the world, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is being accepted in all spheres of life, especially in advanced educated circles. Srila Shukadeva Goswami is described in this verse as Bhagavat Pradanaha, whereas Maharaj Parikshit is described as Vishnu Ratam. Both words bear the same meaning. That is, Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of Krishna, and Shukadeva Goswami was also a great saintly person and a great devotee of Krishna. Combined together to present Krishna Katha, they give great relief to suffering humanity. Anarthopasanamam Shakshad Bhakti Yogam Adopsaje Lokashadjanto Hidvams Chakre Satkatha Samikam. Quote, the material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in relation to the supreme truth. End of quote, Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 7, text 6. People in general are unaware that the message of Srimad Bhagavatam can give all humanity, all human society, relief from the pangs of Kali Yuga. Kali Kalmasa Nam. Translation. Srila Shukadeva Goswami said, O your Majesty, best of all saintly kings, because you are greatly attracted to topics of Vasudeva, it is certain that your intelligence is firmly fixed in spiritual understanding, which is the only true goal of humanity. Because that attraction is unceasing, it is certainly sublime. Purport. Krishna Katha is compulsory for the Rajarshi or executive head of government. This is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Imam Rajarshi Obidhu. Unfortunately, however, in this age, the governmental power is gradually being captured by third-class and fourth-class men who have no spiritual understanding, and society is therefore very quickly becoming degraded. Krishna Katha must be understood by the executive heads of government, for otherwise, how will people be happy and gain relief from the pangs of materialistic life? One who has fixed his mind in Krishna consciousness should be understood to have very sharp intelligence in regard to the value of life. Maharaj Parikshit was a Rajarshi Sakama, the best of all saintly kings, and Shukadeva Goswami was Muni Sakama, the best of Munis. Both of them were elevated because of their common interest in Krishna Katha. The exalted position of the speaker and the audience will be explained very nicely in the next verse. Krishna Katha is so enlivening that Maharaj Parikshit forgot everything material when his personal comfort in relation to food and drink. This is an example of how the Krishna consciousness movement should spread all over the world to bring both the speaker and the audience to the transcendental platform and back home, back to Godhead. Translation. The Ganges, emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu, purifies the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, three varieties of men are purified: the speaker or preacher, he who inquires, and the people in general who listen. Report. It is said, Tasmad Gurum prapadyeta jnanasuhu shreya uttamam. Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 3rd chapter, text 21. Those interested in understanding transcendental subject matter as the goal of life must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta. One must surrender to such a guru who can give right information about Krishna. Herein, Maharaj Parikshit has surrendered to the right personality, Shukadev Goswami, or enlightenment in Vasudeva Katha. Vasudeva is the original personality of Godhead who has unlimited spiritual activities. Srimad Bhagavatam is a record of such activities, and Bhagavad Gita is the record of Vasudeva speaking personally. Therefore, since the Krishna consciousness movement is full of Vasudeva Katha, anyone who hears, anyone who joins the movement, and anyone who preaches will be purified. Translation. Once, when Mother Earth was overburdened by hundreds of thousands of military phalanxes of various conceited demons dressed like kings, she approached Lord Brahma for relief. Report. When the world is overburdened by unnecessary military arrangements, and when various demoniac kings are the executive heads of state, this burden causes the appearance of the personality of Godhead. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutyanam adharmasya tatatmanam srijam yaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bart, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I fear myself. End of quote. When the residents of the earth become atheistic and godless, they descend to the status of animals like dogs and hogs, and thus their only business is to bark among themselves. This is dharmasya glani, deviation from the goal of life. Human life is meant for attaining the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. But when people are godless, and the presidents or kings are unnecessarily puffed up with military power, their business is to fight and increase military strength of their different states. Nowadays, therefore, it appears that every state is busy manufacturing atomic weapons to prepare for a Third World War. Such preparations are certainly unnecessary. They reflect the false pride of the heads of state. The real business...
See what happened today.
It's good?
A little war.
The chamber flowers.
Read the purport of today's verse, Srima?
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay, today's verse and glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from the spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in false temporary glorification of the cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? Report. In India, it is a practice among the general populace to hear about Krishna, either from Bhagavad Gita or from Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to gain release from the disease of repeated birth and death. Although India is now fallen, when there is a message that someone will speak about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, thousands of people will still gather to hear. This verse indicates, however, that such recitation of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam must be done by persons completely free from material desires. Nivritta Arshahi. Everyone within this material world, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, is full of material desires for sense enjoyment, and everyone is busy in sense gratification. But when thus engaged, one cannot fully understand the value of Krishna Katha, either in the form of Bhagavad Gita or in Srimad Bhagavatam. If we hear the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead from liberated persons, this hearing will certainly free us from the bondage of material activities. But hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by a professional reciter, cannot actually help us achieve liberation. Krishna Katha is very simple. In Bhagavad Gita it is said that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As he himself explains, Matta Parataram Nanyat, Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya.
Okay, Guru Maharaj will do Arati. Will do often, can you do?
O Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, text 7. Simply by understanding this fact, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become a liberated person. But, especially in this age, because people are interested in hearing Bhagavad Gita from unscrupulous persons who depart from the simple presentation of Bhagavad Gita and distort it for their personal satisfaction, they fail to derive the real benefit.
We can stop now. Meeting.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prithaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Punyavadi Paschata Desatari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Namaste Narasimhaya, Radha Radha Darine, Hiranyakashipurvakshaha, Shriratandana Kalaye, Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nrsimha, Bani Nrsimha, Hare Nrsimha, Nrsimha Adin Saranam Prapade, Tavakara Kamalore Nakam Adhuta Sringa, Balita Hiranyakashipu, Palubringa, Shabadita Narahari Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Keshavarita Narahari Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Keshavarita Narahari Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Nrsimha Dev, Jaya Nrsimha, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Bhakta Vikram Rashi Nrsimha.
Hari Hari
Let Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Very nice, more than that.
Thank you.
Okay. Look, I can see it.
ये पिछले कितने Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
अनिल प्रभु कौन सा चैप्टर रीडिंग करना है तो पता है आपको?
वो टेम्पल प्रेजेंट यहाँ है उनसे पूछो.
Okay, can I stay or something? Can I watch it something? Can you read?
Yeah, full. You're from America? That's why.
Wi-Fi में connect करो तो ये वो.
I did it. Wi-Fi is good. Wi-Fi is good. You can WhatsApp call.
So Prabhuji,
Yes, Prabhu, please.
watch this. Rinse it. Try it in that room. Yes. इनको गुरुमा जो read कर रहे थे वो कर रहे थे.
मेरे को
वो ले गए अंदर.
ले गए अंदर. You already-
गायत्री का.
ना गाया थे नहीं. दूसरा वाला. वही.
भागवत अंदर ले गए. ये ले.
Share with the Hare Krishna.
Guruma didn't give Mother because he hadn't slept at all yesterday.
He did not do what?
Like not slept at all, like 2 or 3 hours, so he skipped it. Oh yeah. Just show this. You know that, right? You can take the phone from the stand and show it with the hands.